Hey, what's up guys? It's Gothalion. Welcome back to Destiny. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about the Gjallarhorn and the impending nerfing of the Wolfpack rounds to the Gjallarhorn. So as some of you may or may not know, last week Bungie put out a big old block of text saying exactly what's going to be changed in the 2.0 patch coming in September. So we are still a while out. And within those changes were a few exotic item changes. Among them was the Gjallarhorn. If you don't know what the Gjallarhorn is, you have never played Destiny. The Gjallarhorn is what they describe as the nuke weapon. They wanted to create a heavy weapon that was very powerful and considered a nuke, and the Gjallarhorn and its Wolfpack rounds became such the weapon. Unfortunately, there became a negative stigma along with the Gjallarhorn where groups were rejecting potential members if they did not have this exotic weapon in their arsenal, which Bungie did not like. And also, Bungie did not like how the Gjallarhorn became possibly the only answer and sort of completely overshadowed every other heavy weapon. Some people would argue that the best heavy weapon should be the best heavy weapon. Other people would argue that other heavy weapons should be just as or nearly as competent in most firefight situations as the Gjallarhorn. And unfortunately, other weapons just don't really hold a candle to the Gjallarhorn. I'm also probably butchering Gjallarhorn. So what does this have to do with anything? Well, Bungie is nerfing the Wolfpack rounds perk on the Gjallarhorn, which is what makes it feel so nukey. But the thing is, they haven't said exactly by how much they're going to be nerfing those rounds. I'm personally not all too worried about how much they're going to nerf it. I think, in my mind, that they'll be doing it around 20%, 25%. I really do not see them nerfing the damage on the Wolfpack rounds by more than 30%. The base impact on the Gjallarhorn is already pretty good, and the Wolfpack rounds do a lot of damage. So, going forward, if they do nerf the Gjallarhorn by more than 30% on the Wolfpack rounds, would that completely neuter it? I don't think so. I think it would still remain strong. Bungie has said that they want the Gjallarhorn to remain strong and keep its legacy as it is right now, and that's that the Wolfpack rounds are very powerful and it is a nuke. I think what they're aiming for here is creating more balance between heavy weapons. But of course, this is going to make a lot of people unhappy. There's a few routes that people are coming forward with how they're complaining about it. One is the person who doesn't think it should be nerfed at all. You know, there's PvE in the game. Why are they nerfing weapons in a PvE environment? Because that seems to be the main direction they're coming from with nerfing the Wolfpack rounds. And to that degree, I agree to an extent. I think Bungie does have sort of a vision for the way they want their PvE encounters to play out, and maybe they don't want people sitting back spamming rockets at bosses, though the bosses made at this point thus far have really been conducive to spamming of rockets at the bosses. So it's partially Bungie's fault as to why there has been this subculture of have a Gjallarhorn or don't come. Other people would argue that fights like Atheon actually work better if you do the fight as quote-unquote intended, sit inside the bubble, use LMGs and snipers to hit him in his crit spot. Though fights like Crota, when it first came out with the hard mode, the Gjallarhorn was obviously the top tier weapon to use on Crota to bring down his shields, and there wasn't really a next best thing. Ooh, what do we got? Son of a bitch! Oh, that's the second one today! Fuck! Ah! So there wasn't really like a next best thing at the time. Other rockets would do just fine, but the Gjallarhorn obviously eclipsed them for bringing down Crota's shields reliably. In fact, it would often only take a couple of rockets to bring Crota to his knee. Perhaps this isn't what Bungie quite intended to. Hopefully, bosses coming up inside of the Dreadnought will present themselves to be a little bit more of a challenge and make you think outside of the realm of spam your heavy, win the fight. So basically, I think, in my mind, Bungie just wants to change the meta, and they also want to reroute players towards being nice to each other. And so they've decided to nerf the Gjallarhorn. So why not just buff everything else? Well, if you buff everything else, that could create even further imbalance and make the game not act the way that Bungie wants it to. At the end of the day, this is their game, and if things aren't going quite as well as they want them to, or quite the way that they want them to, then it's up to them to change it. You know, if they bring every other heavy up in line with the Gjallarhorn, then the Gjallarhorn at that point loses its legacy. To me, it sounds like Bungie wants bosses to last longer and grouping to be more fair, and if you buff everything else, then you might run into a situation where the Thunderlord might be the end-all be-all with that sort of power behind it, which creates just more issues. And if you continue to increase the power of everything, it introduces power creep, which is another argument all on its own. So basically, I'm not super against the Gjallarhorn nerf. I understand why they're doing it. I understand why people who don't have the weapon yet are upset because they will not have had played with it in its purest form. But on top of that, we don't know exactly to what extent the Gjallarhorn is being nerfed. I'm sort of in a wait and see mode right now before I start throwing a fit about it being too much. The only change inside the exotic changes that I really don't get is the change to the icebreaker with a 3-second longer recharge between rounds. Maybe people aren't using it the way that Bungie intended, but that one just doesn't sit with me right. But the Gjallarhorn, I'm going to have to wait and see exactly how much the Wolfpack rounds are being reduced by, and what kind of heavy weapons we have going forward inside the Taken King, because who knows, they might introduce a weapon that is even more powerful on accident, because, as we could tell here, Bungie is incapable of fully testing their weapons, I guess. Bungie basically says, hey, in a live environment, much more testing can be done in a single day than we could ever hope to do in our own in-studio test environment in several thousand hours, or some such. That's how they word it, more or less. I get it. I understand it is hard to test things, but it's also not hard to shoot some rockets at some stuff and see how quickly it kills it compared to other things. I think better balancing out of the gate would have alleviated a lot of this anger and a lot of the meta that it created under the Gjallarhorn. That's my take. I think Bungie just needs to be a bit more careful. I fully expect there to be a new god weapon inside of the Taken King. Is it a strategy to sell more copies of the Taken King so people want to get specifically this weapon? I'm going to try to not be cynical and say that's probably not the case. I'm going to try to be here and say that Bungie just wants to have a more balanced game at the end of the day, because while I was there, Bungie didn't really strike me as the kind of folks to do that. I have a lot of respect for their devs, and just, yeah, I really don't think they're trying to lean into making something more powerful to force purchase of it, but I'm sure there's people out there on the internet that feel like it's that way because, hey, you know, cynicism's fun. Anyways, so we're in a wait-and-see mode right now, guys, until we see exactly how much the Wolfpack rounds are nerfed by, and how big of a difference it makes, and how much better the other exotic heavies feel in comparison to the post-neutering of the current Gjallarhorn. For those of you who do not have one yet, I 100% feel for you. For those of you who really are not on board with the nerf, I respect your opinion. I see where you're coming from. I hope that you are able to respect mine. And for those of you on either side of the fence, as always, I ask you, I beg of you, please do not be a shithead to people that disagree with you. As long as you are capable of having intelligent conversation to move this forward, that is a good thing, but the second you start slinging your shit, it's time to sit in time out. Please think before you attack. He was very spoopy there for a second. Remember, guys, we are all gamers in the same game, and we all want the same thing, and that is a fun Destiny. And I'm still having fun, and I believe I will still have fun with a slightly nerfed Wolfpack round Gjallarhorn. And if you feel like you're not going to have fun, perhaps it's time to just pack it up, put your Guardian away, and move on. As always, guys, don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I will see y'all back inside of Destiny.